It's another thing that's crept into our policies. There's a few wordings crept into EMP. Sorry, I keep talking about EMP, but I do marine, so you know, and that's, you know, I look at it. We ask questions, we can't get information, and then we find out that we look at the pricing. I honestly don't know how to charge for a cyber policy, and the rate that's come up is 5% of the original policy. Now, if the original policy is wrong, you've got 5% of an incorrect premium. So you know, this is something which I think is going to really could hit us in the long run, because no one understands the you know, the implications of it.
And again, if you look at it, and you said that if you've got a standalone cyber policy, and then you've got your normal sort of EMP policy or marine policy, and there's an issue and it involves technology, are we going to see the poor old broker sitting in the middle there saying, where the cyber guy saying, no, that falls into the marine hull policy, and the whole holder saying, no, this is cyber. Because I think the problem is we need a definition. I think that's the big, as a market, we need to define what we deem to be, you know, is it literally going to be, you know, malice aforth or attacks on you know, on things, or does it include, you know, system errors? Yeah, and I think that's one of the issues that we've got.
It's a shame. I don't. The NMA have just literally released a sort of a Q&A type paper. Came out this morning, so I haven't had a chance to read it. I'm happy to forward it to you.
Brilliant. Yeah, please.
But we're having a session tomorrow with our engineer, because we're really trying to understand it. So timing's bad, unfortunately, John. So I have a little bit more of a view. But so yeah, at the moment, even our engineers are, you know.
Yeah, what
are we covering? Or what's
the exposure? I mean, if you're writing for a package for a drilling contractor, right? It seems like the cyber exposure, it's so variable. It's going to change. If you've got a bunch of cold stacked rigs versus warm stacked rigs versus rigs that are active in that drilling locations, then you got to wonder, what part of the world are these rigs in? Where are they operating? Right. What's the infrastructure surrounding them? Are there pipelines everywhere? It's a risk, I think, that's not well known, and we work with a lot of drilling contractors and have strong relationships with them. Some of these rigs have had security cyber breaches. It's happened. It's already happened. None of them have resulted in cataclysmic claims, but the risk is real. And just like anything that's digital or cyber, in itself is evolving rapidly. Mm-hmm. So the risks as we understand them today may be entirely different than the risks as we understand them in 2 years. I mean, you know, one of the things that's come up recently with a lot of these new built rigs that are in layup, they've never worked a day, is even the software rot. I mean, if you think about it, you've got a cell phone, right? If you turn your iPhone off and you don't turn it back on for 2 years, many of those cell phones won't even work. You can't even update the iOS. What happens with these brand new built rigs that have been essentially stacked in these shipyards for 2 years? Are the software companies even still honoring or servicing the software? Are they still in business? Will that rig, will that software update when that rig is turned back on? And so I think you're absolutely right. What is a cyber risk?
Well,
is it a software risk?
Hardware compatible with the new software?
I don't think anybody truly understands the risks.
And that potentially could be a cyber risk as opposed to cyber terrorism, which is what I always
absolutely. It could be anything from software rot to somebody trying to blow up a well for a rig that's drilling on a location in potentially a very exposed area. So there's a huge spectrum there, and I don't think anybody really understands it yet.
I think also, just to pick on some of the points that Ted was making with the underlying operators, I think if there's cost cutting going on, you can bet you almost guarantee that some of the areas are going to be hit first, these technology areas. So what you'll get is that you'll get a lag, not just the example you cited with stored assets, but actually the operating assets not being updated regularly, and no real firm policy across all the assets. So that actually drives the need for more audit from the insurance side. So that's the reason as to why you need these sort of things. Exactly. So I think, coming back to the point, the best way to understand it is to offer value to the clients to help them understand it, and you learn that as a consequence. So although it's a risk, as I've been saying throughout, for every risk there's always an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And absolutely. You know, so we can't be fearful of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise it will kill us.
But the bigger problem is that those cyber claims that we told Jonathan on, and the problem is that people use vulnerabilities in the software, in the hardware, in the system that nobody else in this world knows about. So they are always those, mighty hackers. They're always one step ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When it comes to, lightning protection, well, you know something about lightning. Flood protection, well, you know how flooding works. But when it comes to exploiting and finding a new loophole, you never know. Never know.
Okay.
And this is something that, we see so much, what probably, my generation would call hype. And I saw, a report from Osbro saying that there are a number of overhyped issues in the insurance industry, being cyber, mostly blockchain, which is one of the funniest part, because, actually nobody understands how, what the actual purpose of the blockchain is, but people still, write reports after reports after reports just to be sure, just to make sure that they are in the forefront of the thoughts, of the thinking. Yes, you need to show that.
That's because it's sexy.
I mean, this is one of the issues. We talk about things that we actually, one thing we don't know right now, and probably technically we just can't.
Yeah.
In general, so it might be that let's put it this way. I don't think that cyber will go away pretty soon, but I remember 2 years ago I was at a Willis conference, and the word that people repeatedly used was big data. We all spoke about big data. Insurers now, they have access to large quantity of data, so the industry will be different. Well, I don't see people using this word anymore. Yes.
They need to realise they need something to work off it. So that's why they're talking AI now.
Yes. And the same thing might happen to cyber as well.
Yeah, I think cyber is actually just a term. It's a wrong term. It's always been there. It's a technical risk. It's a contagion risk. It'll always be there. It's just, unfortunately, got a label on it. It's a risk and a policy, isn't it?
Yes, and the first cyber policy.
And an exclusion.
And an inclusion.
The first standalone cyber policy was there in early 90s, like 93, 94.
Yeah.
So there were people somewhere there who already knew that this is a rising issue, and they started working on it. But now we have the hype, and as long as we just go to places and say we can do cyber instead of actually talking about what needs to be done. We need to postpone the actual implementation of these policies. We first need to understand it and then talk about it, not the.
Yeah, no, I agree with the hype doesn't actually help, but actually one thing it does do, it gets people thinking and talking about it, and particularly senior management that don't have that much time. If it's actually talked about it enough, then they feel as though they need to do something, and then things start to happen.